Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So it's Thursday, which means it's Tier Thursday in Instant Deck Tech land, and this week, for our Tier Deck Tech, we are going all the way back to Legacy, and we're going to look at Legacy Miracles. So Legacy Miracles, right now, Miracles is the #1 deck in the Legacy format. Most played deck, most powerful deck. Last GP for Legacy, I think they were 2 in the top 8. So it is at the very top of the format. It's been Tier 1 for a long time, and it's a really powerful, control-y type deck. So the version we're looking at today is the version played by Joe Lissette to a second place finish at a recent SCG Legacy Open. So congrats to Joe on his finish with the deck. A quick reminder before we break it all down, if you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Miracles is built around Sensei's Divining Top. That is really the card of the deck. If you look down the list of the cards in the deck, Top is kind of the engine that runs everything. So a 1-mana artifact doesn't look that threatening. You can pay 1, look at the top 3 cards of your library, rearrange them, and then you can tap it and draw a card, and you put Top on top of your library. So you can kind of speed up or trade in your next draw and get that draw early by putting the top on top of your library. Then, of course, on your next draw, you're going to draw the top. So you can speed up your draw or trade it in one time with the top. So basically, Top allows you to just keep looking at the top cards of your library and putting them in the order you want. And that's what this deck is built around. So the big combo is Counterbalance, which is a 2-mana enchantment that says whenever an opponent casts a spell, you can reveal the top card of your library. And when you do, you can counter that spell if it has the same converted mana cost as the card you reveal. So the idea here is you get the top down, maybe on turn 1. On turn 2, you Counterbalance. Then for the rest of the game, whenever your opponent casts a spell, you get to activate your top, look at the top 3 cards of your library, try to arrange it properly so you can reveal the card of the same converted mana cost or whatever your opponent casts. So they cast a Brainstorm, you look at your cards, find a 1-mana card, and you reveal that, you counter their Brainstorm. If they cast a 2-mana card, you do the same thing, counter the 2-mana card. So that's kind of the whole plan of the deck. Is it's not really a hard lock, but it's a very good soft lock, and it's a low opportunity cost. You just play the counterbalances because you already want the top, because the top also facilitates your Miracles plan. So this is where the deck's name comes from. You're playing 6 Miracles cards. First up, you got Terminus, a 6-mana Wrath effect, except it puts all the creatures on the bottom of its owner's library, but it has a Miracle cost of 1 mana, which means when you draw a card, if it's the first card you drew with a turn, you can reveal your Miracle card, so your Terminus, and cast it for the Miracle cost. So if you draw Terminus as your first card of the turn, 1 mana Wrath, which is super powerful. But remember, when you have Sensei's Divining Top, you're manipulating the top of your deck, so you can make sure the Terminus comes at the right time. You can float it on the top of your deck by putting it down 1, drawing a different card, making sure it stays there for the right moment. And then you can flip your top or activate the second ability where you can trade in that draw like we were talking about. So you can do that on your opponent's turn during combat. At the end of their turn, Terminus, wipe everything away. Eventually, the deck wins the game by doing the same thing with Entreat the Angels. So 3 white and double X, you make X4/4 Angels, or if you Miracle it, it's just a single X in double white. So for 5 mana, for example, you get 3 4/4 flying angel creature tokens. And if you have 8 mana, 9 mana, you can just make a whole bunch. Usually you do this at the end of your opponent's turn with the help of Top. Arrange your library, get it to where you want it to be, flip your top, draw the Entreat, cast it for its Miracle cost, make a whole bunch of angels, untap, and just attack with your angels and win the game. The other way the deck wins the game is Jace the Mind Sculptor, just a super powerful planeswalker, a really good way of getting cards from your hand back on top of your deck. So if you accidentally draw your Terminus or your Entreat the Angels, you can use Jace to do the Brainstorm ability of 0, put your Terminus back on top of your deck, and then you can Miracle it, or you can keep it floating there by arranging your library with Top. The deck also plays some creatures, and this is part of what makes Joe's build of Miracles unique. You have 3 Vendilion Cliques and 2 Venser Shaper Savants. Some decks play Monastery Mentor in this slot and more counter spells and stuff, but Joe's build uses these creatures to disrupt the opponent. Clique lets you look at your opponent's hand. It's kind of the blue Thought-Knot Seer, essentially. Take a card from it, put it on the bottom of their library, they draw a card. Venser bounces a spell or a permanent, and then Karakas allows you to keep reusing these abilities because you can tap it to return a legendary creature to its owner's hand. So you get in the late game, you're just constantly bouncing your Clique. You can block something, and then you bounce that creature back to your hand, recast it to get the activated ability another time. And then you have some Snapcaster Mages as well, just to reuse your stuff, like Brainstorm and Ponder, which are just setup cards. They help you find the right piece at the right time, set up your counterbalance lock with your Sensei's Divining Top, find the right lands that you need, find your Jace at the right time. Then you have some counter spells in 3 Force of Wills and 2 Spell Snares, and then 3 Swords to Plowshares to deal with your opponent's creatures. As far as the mana base, the fetches are key, because in this deck, fetches are not only ways to fix your mana, but they are super important with Sensei's Divining Top. So Sensei's Divining Top lets you look at the top 3 cards of your library, as we've been talking about, but what if those are 3 lands? You don't really want to just draw those for the next 3 turns. So the fetch lands allow you to reset your Sensei's Divining Top by letting you shuffle your library for the cost of just 1 life. So in this deck, you want to just stockpile up your fetch lands and use those shuffle effects to improve your top. One of the things you'll see a lot with Miracles is you got the top, you got the counterbalance, your opponent casts a 3 mana spell, a Council's Judgment, let's say, to get rid of your Jace the Mind Sculptor, swing the game in their favor. You activate your top, look for a 3 mana card to counter it. You can't find it. You can't find a Vendilion Clique. Well, what do? You crack a fetch land, shuffle your library. That's going to allow you to look at 3 fresh cards with your top, get another peek, see if you can find that Vendilion Clique to reveal a 3-cost card and counter the Council's Judgment and win the game. So if you play this deck, fetch lands are certainly a resource, more so than almost any other deck in all of Magic because of their synergy with top. Then you just have some dual lands in Tundra, Island, and Plains as basics, and a Cavern of Souls to make your Cliques and your Vensers uncounterable. In the sideboard, get some removal. Kozilek's Return to wrath away a bunch of little things. Same for Engineered Explosives. Moat can kind of lock non-flying creatures out of the game. A bunch of counters in Red Blast and Pyroblast and Flusterstorm. A Surgical Extraction to hate on graveyard cards, Reanimator, and so forth. And back to the basics as a hoser for non-basic lands. The deck plays enough basics that this is back to the basics is going to hurt the opponent way more than it hurts you. And that is Miracles for Legacy, and that's been our Tier Thursday Instant Deck Tech. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.